Hello and welcome back to another episode of Road Dog Speaks. Welcome back to my channel. It is the very first video of 2023. So yeah, today I wanted to talk about something that's quite important and something I think that everybody watching should know about. And something that's actually really bothering me, and it should bother you as well, with what this current government are doing, in that they are now actually quite quickly wanting to just completely rip up everybody's rights, whether that comes from the policing bill, the right to strike, with the danger of what they're now wanting to do is try and sack people who want to go on strike, whether they want to arrest people who are even thinking about going on a protest. I mean, before, I think last year it was if you're being disruptive or you're making noise, I think that was through the police crime and sentencing bill that was put through Parliament last year. But now I think it's gotten to the point where even if you're thinking about going on a protest or being in any way disruptive, or walking in the street or slow marching in the street, that's considered disruptive. You know, they can't approach a crisis in a productive way. They have to be reactive and aggressive and start arresting everybody and threatening to sack people that don't want to do what they say they're gonna do. But yeah, it's really important stuff that, you know, it just indicates the real slow, like, degradation of not just rights, but just general things that we take advantage of in this country, sort of like clean air and clean water, environmental stuff like that, and even employment rights that I'll get onto in a minute with the Brexit freedoms bill that you probably heard about. So it's just a list, such an endless list of things that, you know, the Tories want to get rid of. There's a really good article that George Monbiot wrote in The Guardian of just Tories just wanting to rip up our rights, and just sort of stripping us of our freedoms bit by bit. So I encourage you to go and look at that. But yeah, he talks about repressive legislations like the policing bill, protests being stopped before they can even start. It's a little bit like Minority Report, really. It's really that repressive. But anti-union bills, it's just the slow rolling back of progress that has been made over centuries by trade unionists. So this is the reason why, like, this is a big reason of why we've got so many strikes at the moment. It's pretty much, we're at the point in this country of a general strike where we've got, you know, nurses, train workers, doctors, teachers, university workers, professors, so many public sector workers going on strike because of the terms and conditions have just steadily gone down over the past 12-13 years. That nothing is keeping up with inflation, and understandably, nurses, hospital workers, train drivers, bus drivers, teachers want a fair deal, which they're not getting, and the government are refusing to come to the table and even suggest anything to put to them, because they don't even want to give them anything. So the Brexit freedoms bill, which I mentioned earlier, is another big thing. It talks about sort of repealing old legislation which was retained when we were in the EU, things like paternity leave, maternity leave, working time directives, things like that, which the government just wants to really quickly get rid of without having any sort of parliamentary scrutiny. So they can just do it a bit like the Henry VIII powers, where the government can just take everything away without it ever having to be scrutinised or debated in Parliament, which is what you should do, but the government don't want to do that. And what should happen is, you know, if they're going to take away these really key pieces of employment rights that were really hard won. So I'll give you some examples. So we've got working time regulations, fixed term employment regulations, part-time workers regulations, agency workers, health and safety regulations, which are really important. And by the end of December this year, there's like there's what's called a sunset clause, which means that they will no longer be subject to law in this country, but there's nothing to replace them. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these pieces of legislation that have been written up and drawn up over the years to rightly protect people in their place of work. I mean, some of it has been made up here, some of it was made up in the EU when we were a member, which we have kept since like we officially left, but now the government wants to speed up that process, so it just wants to, anything like this is by the way, this is all like Jacob Rees-Mogg's doing, because like this is all him in his Brexit freedom and opportunities job. Like, oh, what can we do? Oh, anything that's attached to the EU, anything that, you know, is any way associated with our membership of the EU, we must get rid of, but not actually think about what you're going to do to replace those laws. How are people supposed to feel like they're being looked after? You know, managers are just going to be able to exploit their workers, are they? Are we going to live in that sort of country where nobody's rights matter, nobody's rights exist at all? Like, they can just work until they drop and there's no recourse or accountability for anybody? Is that the sort of place we want to be? It's so dangerous what they're doing, and I think that it's coming about just because the Tories know that they're on the way out. They know that the polling numbers show that they're really unpopular, and rightly so. I mean, there's been strikes for months. Nobody thinks that they're doing a good job. Like, levelling up, what's happened to that? Like, we've got a cost of living crisis, everybody's so much more poorer than they were, inflation's not matching wages, and yeah, people are really, really struggling, and like energy costs are going through the roof, people can't afford to pay bills. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and the government are just sitting here like lemons, not helping anybody. So what are we to make of that? They're literally just tearing up and leaving everything in a mess, because they know they just want to cause as much damage as possible, like what they've already done, as if Brexit wasn't bad enough. They're just continuing to make a humongous crisis even worse for everybody, because they know that they're not going to win the next general election. So what's the point? Don't need to answer any questions. We can just prevaricate and grandstand and tell ourselves that we're doing a great job and that we've given the NHS record funding. It means nothing, but you know, we're in charge and it doesn't matter. I think that's what their view is. They just don't care. They don't give a damn. Yeah, I'd really like to know like what you guys think of what's going on with regards sort of the nurses strike, doctors strike, train strikes, that sort of thing, the protest bills, Brexit freedoms bill, the state of the country overall. Yeah, let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'd really love it if you click the like button as well, and I will see you guys in the next video. See you later.